What's up everyone? Today I want to share the single best way to farm anything in Path of Exile 2. Whether you're looking to get more materials like Divine Orbs, Exalted Orbs, that kind of thing. If you're looking to get more of the Jeweler's Orbs so you can upgrade the amount of slots on your skill gems, this is the way to do it. And if you're just looking for more gear, better rolling gear to either use or craft with, this is the way to get a consistent high amount of lots of gear. And that is with breach farming. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm going to go from the very beginning. If you've never done a breach before, I'll treat this completely new player friendly. We'll go over how to get your first Breachstone, how to use it so you can go and fight the Breachstone boss and get your Atlas points so you can start filling out your breach Atlas tree. And then we'll work up to what you see here. This is a map I've just completed. It had 5 breaches in it. It didn't take that long to clear. And overall, I think I got like 10 Exalteds. I got a perfect Jeweler's Crystal, which is worth like a couple of Divines, and it gets your 5th gem slot. I got like 200 Splinters, which is almost enough for an entire Breachstone just from one map. And you can run lots of these once you get into this position. So let's go over everything. And of course, if you find this video useful, subscribing to the channel helps me out a ton. But let's get straight into this. Okay, so let's start first with basically what is a breach, how does it work, and how do we progress it? How do we go to fight the breach boss, and how do we get the skill tree points? So I'll just go a bit smaller here. Right, there we go. So if you go onto your map device and you're looking for these things here, these are breaches. They're the little purple hands. If you're ever not sure, you can click the legend in the top left and it says here, the purple hand is a breach. So that's what we're looking for. And if you find these, you go into that map, use a waystone, you go in the map, and that will have a purple hand somewhere. You walk into that, it will start expanding, and you defeat the monsters to keep it open. As it gets further and further, you get more and more rewards, and there'll be these little hands inside. You go over, you click on them, you interact with them, you go near them, and they will drop breach splinters. What are breach splinters? Well, you get those as you keep doing this, and what you want to do is just keep storing them, and once you hit 300, so these are breach splinters, you'll start getting like, I don't know, 10, 15 in your early maps. As you progress, like I just said, I got nearly 200 in one map. So as you get to 300, as soon as this hits 300, it turns into one of these, a breach stone. So 300 of these turns into a breach stone. And the breach stone is how we progress the breaches. It's how we get them to be better. So if you go on your map device, let's say you're out doing your maps over here, you would scroll back to where you first started. You can also click the little home icon here that'll be floating around, and that will take you back to the start. This is where you started, the Ziggurat Refuge. And if you go around here, you should have a Realm Gate. Go to your Realm Gate and you put the Breachstone in the Realm Gate and you press traverse. I'll show myself doing it in the background. You'll traverse into the Realm Gate. That will open up some portals, and then you can go into the Realm Gate. This is basically just another breach. It's a bigger breach, but no items drop until you get to the end. Once you get to the end, it will drop out all the items for you. Now, once you've done that, once you've completed this breach, there's a little timer. I found if you can complete a breach, then the Breachstone itself is just the same. It's no more difficult, I don't think. Once you finish that, you then get to the boss. There's a boss at the end, and I believe it's at the end of every single one. You fight the boss, and if you beat it, it will drop a book. And this book will give you 2 points to use in your Atlas skill tree. Not for the section here, which we get from, just progressing our maps, but for this section over here. For the breach section, you can have a total of 8 points. I currently need to do it once more, but I'm at 6 so far. And what this means is you can progress down here. And this is where your breaches get a lot more interesting. There are nodes in here like increased quantity of breach splinters. That's why I have so many more dropping, and like up to a couple of hundred from one map. You can get down here, 40% increased monster density. That means more loot, it means more rewards, it means more materials, more divine orbs, more exalted orbs, and more breach splinters. Over here we've got like your maps which contain breaches have a 15% chance to contain an additional, 5% chance to contain 3 additional, 2% chance to contain 10 additional. This also stacks on top of the precursor tabs we're going to be using later as well, which can give more breaches in each map. So yeah, there's loads of things you go into here. There's also like, if you're struggling, they can open and close slower. There's things like increased density. Over here, we've got more double breach splinters. So there's lots of cool things you can do here. It does make the breaches harder, and it does make the boss event harder. So when we put our Breachstone in, it will start to make that more difficult. So the more you do it, more harder it gets, but the better the rewards get. Now, when you're first starting out, the breaches are kind of slow. They don't give tons of rewards, and they don't drop many splinters. So one thing you can do to give yourself a bit of a head start is go to Alva, go to Exchange, and say I want, and you can literally go breach, and then you can get a Breachstone, and then say I have Exalted Orbs. And one Breachstone right now is only 61 Exalted Orbs, which isn't that bad. But let's say you already have like 100 of these fragments. You can go on the splinters and say, oh, you know, I need 100 more or 150 more. 31? Yeah, like around 30, 31 Exalted Orbs. So you can kind of just use a few orbs to just give it a little boost. So you can just get in there sooner, get the Breachstone boss beaten sooner, and you just press place order, by the way, and then you'll get your items here. So yeah, that's one thing you can do to just get a bit of a head start if you just want to get straight into it. Obviously, make sure you're strong enough, because right now, before any patches, if you do fail, you lose the Breachstone. There is talks about, you know, having more chances, but right now you do lose the portal. So yeah, make sure you can do a normal breach first. Okay, so that's one way to make your breaches a lot more exciting and a lot more rewarding. But the other way is with your towers, your precursors, and with your waystones. So let's talk about that. So if you go on your map device, a normal node, so this one over here, has a little bit of an effect on it. Look, 5% increased density and 13% increased quantity of items. If we were to look at one that I've used towers to level up down in this section, look how different this is. More gold, rarer monsters, 9% chance to have an additional breach, more splinters, more clasped hands, more modifiers, more 12% rare. There's so much on here that has such a higher potential of being, you know, a really good map. And if you combine that with a good waystone and with your already good Atlas tree, you could end up with what I talked about at the start, where you have like 5 breaches and they're all just full of really good loot. So let's talk about getting that. So when you look at this map from your hideout, the towers don't show their effect. So if you go to the Ziggurat Refuge, and then you go to the map device here, you'll see the towers influence. So you can see now the towers have this crossover. So if we look at the towers, you can see everything around these towers is being affected and they're overlapping. So this node here, for example, would have been really good because you can see it's affected by multiple towers. This node I just cleared here was affected by like 5 towers. This one here, affected by like 4 towers. So these are the nodes that are going to be really good. These are the nodes that are going to be memorable. They're where you're going to have a good chance of getting your really good items. If you've never used one of these towers before, basically you just work your way to it. You would put in a waystone like normal. You'd click it, put in a waystone. You would clear it. It's a very easy, fast map to do. And then you click it again and you can put in a precursor tablet on top to activate everything around it. And these work like this. 8 maps in range will contain a breach, and then they will have some sort of bonus to them. One thing you can do as well is you can use an Orb of Transmutation to add 1 affix, increase rarity of items, very nice. And you can use another one, an Orb of Augmentation, to give it a second one. Breaches have increased monster density. So this is a pretty good precursor. This will be quite useful. But I would say don't use it straight away. These don't drop in massive volumes early on. So, and they also, if you don't have a loot filter, they are quite easy to miss. They just drop as like a white generic item. So if you don't have a loot filter, keep your eyes open. I am going to talk on the importance of a loot filter and how to get one easily later on. But yeah, make sure you're picking these up and save them. My advice would be to save them till you have 3 to 4. What you want to do is, say you're going around your map and you find this, I don't know, like this tower here. I would say don't use a precursor on it. You want to find a cluster. So if we go over to here, this thing here would be a nice cluster. It's 4 towers within range of each other that will all go together. Similarly, if I saw this coming up, I can see 3 or 4 towers in the mist here. I would want to work towards this because they're really close together. So they're all going to combine. I try and save 3 or 4 precursors for them and activate them all and get them all going together. That would be my advice. Try not to put them in those that are really spread out. Okay, and I've also got a tip if you're really struggling to find these breach precursor tabs. So if you can't find any, you've done a bunch of breaches and you're like, I can't find any and I want to use the towers, I've got a tip for you. So if you start doing deliriums, so that is on the map, it's these things here. It's these, it's kind of like a cone thing, like a machine cone, this thing here. You want to look for these. Start doing these deliriums on your map when you find them, and they will start dropping distilled emotions. So you go in, there's like a mirror, you go in, everything's foggy, you beat a certain amount of mobs, and they will drop, once you've finished, a bunch of these emotions, right? You've got like ire, guilt, disgust, greed, that kind of thing. Do those, start collecting these, and what you can do is if you take each one of these is a different thing, by the way. If you take the disgust, for example, and you take it to your inventory, you right click it, it opens an instilling window. If you put 1 disgust in here, and then you put a waystone in, I'm going to use a blank waystone. I'll hide myself. Players in the area become 18% delirious. That means the map you then go into will have a bit of delirium in it, but also 30% increased chance for precursor tablets found in the area. Huge. If I use another one, 60. And I use a third one, 90% chance for precursor tabs in the area. So this is one way to really increase your chance of getting these getting more of these breach precursors to really start bumping up your maps and bumping up your breaches. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Little tip. There's loads of things you can do with these distilled things, but this is one of them. This now has this effect on 30% increased precursor tabs in the area. You can also still upgrade this like normal. You see here, monsters have increased. You can still upgrade this, and then we can go. Like you can still upgrade like normal. You load into a breach, you drop this in, and you can see now when we load into this map now has a little bit of delirium. It's not a delirium map, it was a breach map, but you can see it has a little bit of delirium effect going on with it. Now, I quickly want to talk about a loot filter. Now, it's not, this is a breach guide video, but you're going to realize when you start doing these big breaches, multiple breaches, high density breaches, loot is a real problem. And I wouldn't normally go over this, but they've recently announced that loot filters are coming to console, and I know a lot of people aren't going to be aware how they work. So I believe the patch is coming this week. So hopefully this is relevant to everyone, PC or console. Loot filters are important. I'm going to show you the breach I just did that had, multiple breaches in with a loot filter, a basic loot filter, and then one without. And I'm going to show you how to get one without going on any weird sites, without downloading anything. It's on the official, Path of Exile website, and it's just something you click and you get a filter. So yeah, this is the difference in, with or without one of these filters. It takes out all the grays, the blues, anything not important, and it just flashes on the screen, very clear, the stuff that is worth picking up, basically. So yeah, all you want to do is if you go onto the website, this is the official pathofexile2.com. In the top left of the screen, there's a little drop down. You drop it down and you want to go on to Path of Exile 1. You want to be on the Path of Exile 1 website. Okay, so this is the Path of Exile 1 website. And in their recent, their big patch announcement they just did, they said this is how you'll be able to get it for consoles. You basically just link your account to a filter and it then works in game. They've showed that's how you do it. So hopefully this is going to work for you once this patch does drop, and it will also work for you if you're on PC right now. So you go onto game and you click item filters. Simple as that. Okay, in the drop down here, you want to switch it up to PoE2. And now you have a list of all the PoE2 filters. You'll see the top, 7 are all by this person here, Neversink. Neversink is the most respected and trusted filter maker. And, I believe when you're going for a Neversink filter, you can rely on it pretty hard. You're not going to miss specific items. These are very well updated and maintained filters. So I'm currently using the Neversink 3 strict, but find one you want. The basic will only take out some things. The super strict will take out pretty much everything and just give you the best items in the game. I'm using strict. What you would do is find one you want, you click it, and then all you do is you click follow. You click follow here. I'm currently following this one, obviously, but you just click follow here. It will take you to the, it might take you to another page, and then you click follow again, but that's it. You follow the filter you want, and then the filter will work in your game. You don't have to go to any weird places and download it. It's as simple as that. And they're saying this will link to consoles too when the patch drops this week. So yeah, that's how you get a filter. Super, super easy. And then in game, all you do in game is you press escape, options, game, item filter, and it will be here. Again, no download, it'll just be here. You just go none, you refresh, and it will launch the filter. That's it. So yeah, hopefully that does help if you've never used one before and you want one really simple. Okay, now if we're talking about farming breaches for getting lots of loot, lots of items, we have to talk about item rarity. Item rarity is the more you have, the more rewards. The better the rewards and the more rewards that will drop. So let's talk about that. And I will say, I'm trying to keep this as detailed, trying to keep my guides as detailed as possible. So if you are finding this useful, do consider subscribing. I've made a ton of guides on PoE2 already, and there's more to come. But let's get into this. So when we talk about rarity, there are 3 or 4 ways to get it. So let's go through them. Okay, so firstly on your gear, rarity can drop as an affix on different pieces. So try and find rarity on all of the gear you're going for where you can. Some of the good ones are boots, because boots doesn't really roll much damage increase in things. It rolls like movement speed, resistances, things like that. Try and get rarity there. You can get it on your amulet as well. You can get a good roll of it. So you can get small amounts in some places and large in other. You can get a good roll of it on your amulet, and you can get a massive amount on your helmet. I've seen like really high rolls of rarity on helmets. So try and get a good base amount of rarity on your gear, because waystones come and go, but your gear is always there. So it's a permanent large boost to your to your rarity. And that's a good chance to get better items, better drops, better loot. So that's the first way. The second way to get better rarity is with your waystones. So you can see here on your waystones, you can have these different affixes. If we take a basic waystone like this one, and then we go increase 1, the first thing we did with an orb of transmutation is we got 20% increased rarity wherever we use this waystone. You can then, you can upgrade it multiple times. You can also use like more orbs and increase it even further, but you can get rarity then. That's the main thing. And that's going to give you a better map. So that's the second thing you can do. You can also use, we talked about the emotions earlier, the distilled emotions. There is an emotion that gives rarity. So if you'll have to bear with me. Here we go. So it's the distilled greed. So greed gives you 8% increased rarity of items in the area. You can stack that 3 times and get 24% increased rarity. So I'll hide my screen again. You can see here, if you wanted a super giga juiced waystone, you could, I'll just put 1 on for a test to show you. Here we go. I'll come back. Hello. So yeah, just 1 of those distilled greeds, and we now have an 8% increased rarity. That's another way to get more rarity, which is pretty cool. Yeah, waystones, gear, they're 2 ways. Another one is the third one is on your precursors. So we already saw here, we rolled this precursor earlier, and we've got 14% increased rarity of items found in maps. So there's 3 ways to get a good amount of rarity, and all of these just build. That's more and more and more rarity. But these, you're working them. You build your towers around an area, or you build up towers to have good, good maps. You find some good maps. You wear your gear. You put the waystone in, and everything comes together, and you just get all of these big drops. The final way to get a good amount of rarity is if you go in your Atlas tree. This is the Atlas skill tree. There are certain things in the map that can roll good rarity. So if we type in here, rarity, you can see here, there are certain nodes, I believe it's down here. Yeah, certain nodes down here that can increase rarity. 3% rarity of items in your map, 3% increase rarity, 3% increase rarity. There are lots of ways. I'm trying something different right now, but if you wanted to just farm for rarity, 8% rarity of items in your maps, 3% rarity, there are lots of ways to really boost up the rarity. So yeah, that's another thing you can do. But overall, don't stress too much. As long as you're playing the game, you're going to keep getting drops. This just gives you a little boost. So, where you can get it, try and get a little bit. But yeah, that's rarity. And I think that's pretty much everything. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. That's, we talked about breaches as a whole. We've gone over how to really juice the maps and work your way towards it. We talked about progression, getting your first Breachstone. If there's any other questions you have on this, do let me know. I think it's quite a daunting thing to work towards when you don't know the steps. You watch some people who are like professionals, and they clear these crazy maps, and they're dropping like divine orbs, and you look at your breach, and first you're struggling to complete it, and second you get like 1 exalted in the whole breach, and you go, what's happening? So I wanted to kind of explain how to increase them, the progression you want to make. And this just doesn't happen overnight. This is something you'll constantly be working towards. You'll constantly keep trying to beat more of the Breachstone bosses, increasing your waystones, working up to tier 15 waystones. But yeah, eventually you will get to a point where you can just always have really good maps with really good breaches, and the farming is just really fun. So yeah, I really hope this has helped. I try and make a load of PoE 2 guides, so if it has, do consider liking it, do consider subscribing to the channel. Any questions, I try and answer them down below. I've got other guides if you want to go check those out too. But that's it. If you've got to the end, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, take care, thanks a lot, and I'll catch you in the next one.